is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan with you. And on a Wednesday afternoon, as he always is, he joins us, Charleston Post and Courier's own John Blau. He's on Twitter at JON_Blau, BLAU. And if you're watching the show, you don't have to worry about the spelling anymore because the lower third with the text line is available. JB, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, man. I tell you, week 0, a little college football, a couple of ACC schools that will be playing this weekend with Florida State and North Carolina. I would imagine in the sports writers world as well, you're kind of licking your chops for this weekend to get rocking and rolling.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting, those week 0 matchups, to kind of get a little bit of a taste of what these teams are going to be like. Obviously, Clemson, you're very intimately involved. I get to see them during camp and see everything, hear everything really mostly from the coaches and players about how things are going. But, obviously getting a chance to see some of these other teams across the country, that will be interesting, just to kind of see kind of where those teams stack up, kind of they fix some things. I mean, you talk about Florida State, that's a team that obviously gave Clemson a game last year. North Carolina, you're always wondering if they actually have a defense or not. So that will be interesting.
John, let me ask you, just from the perspective of the Atlantic Coast Conference in general, and look, everybody understands you cover Clemson, but there are a lot of conversations out there that this league, with the quarterback play, Keaton Slovis named the starter at Pitt today, with all of that, there's a belief that the ACC has a chance to maybe be stronger than a lot of people believe. Where do you fall on that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting, I guess, question to ask, because whether it is Clemson, was down last year and that kind of created a void that allowed these teams to rise up a little bit, or whether, truly the rest of the conference has really caught up or improved. I mean, obviously, Clemson has a double overtime game against NC State. Their season is very different if Clemson wins that game. Pittsburgh, Clemson had an opportunity to get in front. Obviously, everybody remembers that drop pass Will Shipley had. They could have been up 14-0. Couldn't quite get it going. You do wonder, I mean, if Clemson is the way Clemson's been, if those teams take a couple of hits there, and whether the perception is a little different. But at the same time, everyone seems to be saying, and I trust other people's opinions, that yeah, these teams are getting better, and that NC State could give Clemson more of a challenge this year, and that Pittsburgh, could be a team that wins all of its games, is undefeated going into the ACC title game to maybe play at Clemson, and that, obviously Miami's getting a lot of buzz because you have Mario Cristobal, and they're throwing a ton of money at the program there, and like you said, quarterback. I mean, there's a ton of talented players playing the most important position on the field for a lot of these football teams. So, yeah, no, it is an interesting discussion to be had. I guess I'm kind of curious to see how it plays out this year, that if Clemson does have a little bit of a resurgence, will the talk about the rest of the conference kind of die down, or will there truly be some challenges for Clemson throughout the ACC? It's going to be an interesting thing to watch play out this year.
John Blau joining us here on the program. Follow him on Twitter at John, JON_Blau, BLAU. So, John, on that front, as it pertains to Clemson, if you listen to the coaching staff, right, it would seem that the expectation is DJ Uiagalelei is going to be a lot better this year. Like, that seems to be the tone. Now, obviously, Cade is playing well enough that they're confident if they needed him. What's your take on that quarterback battle at this point? And if I said to you, JB, who's the quarterback in that South Carolina game at the back end of November? Who's the starter in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now you have to stick with the status quo and assume maybe that what everybody's saying in terms of DJ's improvements, in terms of mechanics, in terms of his leadership, his confidence, all those things work out, then DJ Uiagalelei is going to be the starter through the season. But the comments about Cade Klubnik have been really interesting. That Brandon Streeter has come out and said, "Oh, obviously he's going to play. Like he's definitely going to play. There's no doubt about that. It's just a question of when and how." And I think he said even kind of, it's how the offense is playing, other different factors depending on when he gets in there. There's definitely a shorter leash this year for sure. I mean, I can't imagine if at Georgia Tech, if Clemson finds himself in another 14-10 type of game, that they don't throw Cade Klubnik out there in certain situations, maybe to see if he can kind of get something going. He'll obviously have a chance to get something going. Furman, Louisiana Tech, I'm sure there's going to be at least some mop-up duty there. But I can't imagine if DJ Uiagalelei cannot get some momentum going at certain points in the year if they don't try to kind of find a spark with Cade Klubnik, because they've done it in the past. I mean, if you look at the situations with Stout and Deshaun Watson, him coming in. If you look at obviously Kelly Bryant and then Trevor Lawrence taking over, there's always been an opportunity for those younger guys to get in there, even when Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback. DJ, obviously, with those 2 games because COVID got in there, but also got in late game situations when they were blowing people out. So Cade's definitely going to get an opportunity to play. And if, DJ is improved, then it's going to be on the back end. It's going to be mop-up duty. But if DJ is not improved, I can't imagine how, if Cade Klubnik goes out there, plays really well, some of those non-conference games, again, like Furman, Louisiana Tech, maybe even, spot duty, some of these other early conference games, how they can't give him more run after that.
John Blau joining the program here on the Hump Day edition of the show, the Wednesday edition with college football looming. The expectations, John, I mentioned the fact that Florida State's one of those teams that's playing this weekend. Mike Norvell going into year 3. People are excited about the Seminoles and what could be with Jordan Travis at quarterback this year. But I still am looking at them with bated breath at this point. I still don't trust that program to get back to good, so to speak. And I know his first year was that COVID-19 year, and that was tough for everybody. But what do you see at this point in your estimation for Florida State to be a quote-unquote success? Like, what kind of record do they have to have in your opinion?
They definitely have to get to a bowl game. I mean, obviously, you got to keep working in that direction, be consistently in the postseason. But like you said, I mean, Florida State for so long since, obviously Jimbo Fisher, but then, kind of going on a downward trend has just been not really what it was since the Bobby Bowden era. And that's what you think of when you think of Florida State. Yeah, I mean, you would like to see them, if they're going to be Florida State, will push towards 8, 9, 10 wins in a season. But I mean, it seems a little too early for that. I mean, again, make a bowl game and win 7, maybe 8 games. You might get a little more optimistic about that program, but at the same time, it has been so up and down. Again, Miami, I brought them up earlier, Mario Cristobal.
Yeah.
The same type of situation. I mean, just you win, you might get to a bowl game, win 7 games, but you're not winning 9, you're not winning 10. You're not really having those breakthroughs and kind of stacking seasons like they used to, those 2 programs. And that's been a huge thing for the conference. I mean, the ACC, football-wise, has been looked at as kind of soft. Obviously not much below Clemson, like we were talking about earlier. And the hope is that everybody is rising, but really Florida State has to rise. Miami has to rise. But it's just been so many false starts with both of those programs. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I really don't know what to think. Again, Jordan Travis, a player who can make some plays with his feet, obviously a talented player back there. But they've lost something, obviously, on the defense. Jermaine Johnson, they've lost some talent there. Whether they have the same kind of, overall skill on both sides of the ball, I'm not quite sure yet. And that's why it's going to be interesting to watch the Week 0 games.
John, I know you were at the ACC kickoff. Were you there both days?
Yes, we were there both days.
Okay, now was there any team that you felt like, and I know I'm challenging your, I'm making you put it in rewind here, but was there any team or coaching staff or players that took to the podium in the big room that when they stepped down, you said, I think I feel a little bit differently about these guys. And again, what you say doesn't determine how you play, but was there a school that made you feel a little bit differently about them than maybe you did prior to hearing from them?
Yeah, I think actually we talked about this after the ACC kickoff. I just think Mario Cristobal in Miami, listening to him talk, he's a very impressive guy. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's the most charismatic. I mean, he's obviously very serious in his tone for the most part. But just the way he talked about the program and the way he wants to build it. And, we're not going to, I think I remember, again, stretching my memory, but we're not going to hashtag our way. We're not going to T-shirt our way. We're not going to do all these gimmicks.
Yeah.
It's going to be about finding players that are really dedicated to working, to building this foundation. Again, the money that's pouring in, we don't need things like a turnover chain anymore. It sounded like just a guy who obviously has a gravitas to him and is very serious about what he's trying to do and has a proven track record in terms of recruiting, especially in that offensive line room, to be able to get those big bodies that you need to be able to win in the trenches. He seems to be focused on the right things, and he has the backing. So, I mean, obviously, you brought up Florida State earlier. I mean, between those two programs, Florida State and Miami, honestly, right now, just in terms of the leadership, I would feel pretty good about the direction Miami's going in. Whether Florida State can track in that same direction, and obviously neither of them have really tracked very far yet. So, kind of seeing what Miami does, maybe it does somehow go up in flames. But to me, just listening to Mario Cristobal, that was a very impressive guy. And I would think that he has the ability, especially with the backing, like I said, to take them in a different direction.
John, shifting back to Clemson to kind of wrap this up, we got about 8 minutes or so left with John Blau here. The developments on the offensive line, Blake Miller, potentially the starter at right tackle, allowing Walker Parks to shift and again, an anchor in Jordan McFadden at left tackle. The offensive line, I feel like there's a lot of if there's been positive vibes about DJ, there's been maybe twice as many positive vibes about this offensive line from even the first scrimmage competing with that incredibly talented defensive front. If this group comes together the way they were supposed to have perhaps even a year ago, do you think that's the difference in Clemson being 10-3 versus a contender for the college football playoff, just winning in the trenches up front on offense?
Yeah, I think I wrote an article about this actually coming into preseason camp. That just as far as the offense will go, it will be because of the offensive line. And last year, there were just so many different injuries, moving parts. He tried Matt Bockhorst at center. That didn't quite work. He tried to put a true freshman at left guard. His first games against Jordan Davis. That's a real shell shock right there. And then DJ's working behind this group, and he did not seem very comfortable. I mean, kind of, again, shell shock in terms of Marcus Tate. I think DJ Uiagalelei had some after that Georgia game, and then things don't really get going. I think if that offensive line, particularly with those running backs that they have right behind them, with Kobe Pace, Will Shipley, Phil Maffa, if they can establish the line of scrimmage, things become so much simpler for DJ Uiagalelei. And honestly, I do think the talent is there. Obviously, Jordan McFadden's one of the better tackles in the nation, honestly. Marcus Tate has had another year. He was a former offensive tackle in high school, another year to assimilate to that guard spot, another year of conditioning. Will Putnam supposedly has not had many bad snaps at all. And as a center, he's a former wrestler. He's just a guy who has a pretty good, mentality and also just physical traits to play that position. And then if you're bumping Walker Parks to right guard because you think Blake Miller is that good as a true freshman, I actually talked to his high school coach. I guess to tease it a little bit, I'm going to have a bigger story on who Blake Miller is. This guy set the squat record at Strongsville High School in Ohio. It's amazing he's from Strongsville. I just love it. 585 pounds. he squatted 585 pounds in high school. He came to Clemson with squatting more than guys like Jordan McFadden. I mean, so obviously it's not a squat competition; it's football. I mean, he's got to learn kind of where he's going and get assimilated to the size and speed of guys, like Myles Murphy, who he's seeing in practice every week. But it is encouraging that if he's going against those guys in practice and he's succeeding well enough that they want to put him at tackle, you would think that he could, kind of round that thing out. And if they have to help him with a few chips here or there, fine. But that does sound like a nice starting five, and it's much more solid than you were coming into the opener last year. So yeah, again, I think that offensive line is crucial, and I think there is optimism, like you said, that first scrimmage where they actually fared well, according to Dabo Swinney, against that defensive line. If that kind of brings forward into the regular season, this could be a much different offense and a much different team.
I mean, I don't want to brag. I squatted 585 before I did this segment with you. So I'm just, it's just,
man,
it's a gift and a curse. John, final thing. I opened the show with this topic. Which all-time great program, in your opinion, will be the next to win a national title? I'll give you just a short list. Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame, Southern Cal, Oklahoma, Nebraska. If you want to include Florida, that's fine too. Somebody who's done it multiple times in our lifetimes or done it historically. Which of those schools do you think is the next to return to the top of the college football and hoist the golden scepter?
Wow, that's a hard one. I would say that, Oklahoma is intriguing to me. Obviously, that's going to play to the Clemson base here. But I mean, Brent Venables, a guy that obviously a great defensive mind, a very energetic personality, infectious, you may say, in terms of his personality and ability to recruit. And obviously, Oklahoma's had the offense; they've been able to put up points in recent years. Just haven't quite had that defense to the level it needs to be. I mean, if Oklahoma can assert itself defensively, kind of regain that mentality, and is able to obviously keep the offense at a level that it's been at, that's a very intriguing program, and that would probably be my number one pick out of that list. I mean, USC I think is always interesting, and obviously Lincoln Riley going there and having the NIL function now in terms of being able to recruit and bring kids to LA in terms of the NIL opportunities you have out there. I mean, I would think they're going to be bringing in a lot of really good talent. That could be an interesting one as well. But yeah, I would start with Oklahoma and then say USC would probably be my backup.
John Blau, again on Twitter at JohnJON_Blau. John, by the way, Tyler stopped by the program today and said hello. So appreciate Tyler checking you out here on the program. John, we'll talk to you next week. And listen, Tyler, John and I, we were talking before he came on the air. I think we're going to have the live video feed as well from the Palatial Blau residence here next week. So, John, man, thank you, buddy, and we will talk to you next week.
Sounds good. All right, thanks a lot.
John Blau of the Post and Courier, 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line, always good to have you guys being a part of the program, and we hope you're supporting some of our great sponsors. You're seeing them on the screen. Let's see, Weatherman, right here, like Great Southern Homes. Check out their website, greatsouthernhomes.com. 803-450-0086. Speaking of 00, is he going to get on the line today? Ring-a-ling-a-ling, 00. Phone lines are open. You can call us and be a part of the program. Some interesting conversations there. So John Blau, JB says, Oklahoma and Brent Venables scale the mountain first and hoist the golden scepter. All right, we'll hit a quick break for everybody watching. We're going to put you on a little bit of a hold. We'll come back and we'll continue on the conversations right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. It is the People Show, Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan with you. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your neighbors. For that matter, tell your friends' neighbors about the program. Yesterday, our poll question of the day, so to speak, was about the AP top teams. Which AP top 25 team was most likely to stumble? I guess that was the day before. Yesterday, we recapped Clemson's the We're Number One series, or the We're Number One show. And so my question today is, which all-time great team wins their next national championship first? So you can't be a team that's never won it and jump into that conversation like Savage Dog said in hour one. When I told him what I thought about Georgia, he said he agrees. Like, they're not at that level. They get another one. Yeah. Kirby Smart brings home the bacon twice. Sure. But which all-time team wins their next national title first? Who do you like on that front? 803-450-0086. John Blau said Oklahoma. I think it's Southern Cal. Maybe you buy in more heavily than most on Mario Cristobal and the Miami Hurricanes. Again, I think there's a couple of factors that do go into it for Miami or any team in the Atlantic Coast Conference. And it's the fact that I get it. There's competition at quarterback. I get it. This league is better when you look at the college football rankings currently, and you average those out. If you include Notre Dame, it's better than the SEC. If you don't include Notre Dame, it's slightly worse, but not noticeably. The SEC with 6 teams in, the ACC with 5. But the difference is when you play those matchups, against those elite teams, or maybe you don't even consider them elite, but they're from the SEC, and you know that nationally people are going to think of them as elite, you have to win those games. And a matchup like Florida State and LSU on September the 4th at the Superdome in New Orleans, neutral site. Clemson fans, you know all about that neutral site New Orleans game with LSU. Even in the national championship, they couldn't get that thing neutral site. But the standard for the Atlantic Coast Conference and the way this ACC will be judged comes down to how you do against the competition outside of the league. That's why I've always not been in favor of what the SEC and other leagues have, or the SEC is looking at doing and other leagues are doing, going to 9 conference games. Like, if you and your 9 brothers have arm wrestling matches every Sunday and you are the definitive champion of your 9 brothers every single time you have that tournament, doesn't make you the greatest arm wrestler in the world. And that's where I don't like conferences simply playing against themselves. I think more crossover is better for the sport. More games against top-tier competition from other leagues is a positive for the sport. Just playing in your own sandbox does not answer the question to me of who's the best team in America. Alabama, you have to go out and prove it. Georgia went out and proved it a year ago. It's not just going to be handed to you, no matter what conference you come through. But just playing in your own sandbox or just arm wrestling your brothers in the, at the kitchen table doesn't make you Lincoln Hawk from over the top, Sylvester Stallone. You got to have some cross conference matchups. It's healthy for viewership. It's healthy for the sport. It, to me, increases engagement and allows bozo to clowns like me to sit in here and say, man, I can't wait to see Clemson play Florida in the swamp. You go to 9 conference games or eventually 10. Now I'm running out of opportunities to go play somebody. I just think for the betterment of the sport that you love, more cross-conference games. I know that we might have to eliminate the FBS matchups. I hate it. My dad was a Wofford grad. I remember going to see the Wofford Citadel games and things like that, going to see the Wofford Bulldogs play, or excuse me, Terriers. Golly, I got Bulldogs on the mind. Savage Dog just wrote. Savage Dog, thanks. My dad's going to now, I'm now out of the will. I'll be lucky to get a stick of gum after that one. I saw the Savage Dog and I said Bulldogs. The Terriers. Savage Dog says LSU beats FSU by 13. And you might be all over it. And this is where you agree, though, right? Like, those are the games the ACC has to prove themselves. Those are the games that the ACC teams need to go win. It's easy for the SEC to say, hey, we're tough. We don't play a ton of cross-divisional games, though, for me, in my opinion, to really know. But the ACC, you can't say, oh, yeah, this is going to be a tough, we're going to be a much better year. We got a respected league. We got great quarterback play, and then go get beat by 13 by LSU. You got to be competitive. You got to win those games. 803-450-0086. Speaking of Florida State, something interesting coming out of Tallahassee. I'll tell you about it next. All right, Savage Dog. I'll tell you what, anybody watching, if you want to try to call the show, man, I'd love for you to call. Just to see if I got the phone set up to ring right. I know what you're saying. Why didn't you test it before the show? I don't have that kind of time. I barely got segment 1 in. Into the system. I mean, I had to hustle to get that into the system. 6. The only thing I still have to add that I haven't is my my audio clips. And I really need to get my other monitor. I need one more monitor for where I'm recording so I can have you guys here and my sound effects there. But I'm putting that one off on not me. All right, that was say 24, 22. That was segment 6. No, this is segment 7. All right, one more segment after this one. All right, here we go. I think I'm going to hit the little I do like playing the little return video. It just kind of gives me MTV vibes. Heading into the back half of the program, Clemson Sports Talk, Lawton Swan, thank you for sitting down at your computer, your phone, wherever you're taking part in the program, sharing it, being a part of it. And don't be fooled by the name and lights. This is a Clemson-based show, but it is not solely about Clemson. I think our fine-feathered friends peeking over the fence with us will tell you we treat them fair. I think the Savage Dog will tell you I'm open and honest when it comes down to his Georgia Bulldogs. That's the way you got to be, man. Like if you're going to step to this, like there are so many people in this business, and maybe they're doing it the right way and just trying to get you to bait in on the things that they say. My website's never been a clickbait site; it never will be. That's why I stand behind our $63.17 subscription for a year. I love to say $63.17. So do you. That's fun. But it will never be a site where it's a bunch of clickbait. It's always going to be a site that brings you unique content. And if we put it behind the paywall, it's because I honestly believe that over the life of a year, that is one of the articles that is worth that $63.17 as you spread it out 17 cents a day. I got writers that I got to pay. I got to keep the lights on. So we'd love to have you subscribe like Nick did yesterday. And by the way, if you subscribe, it's $1 for 3 months if you do it today. If you subscribe and the little notification comes through, I'm going to shout you out. I don't have the little sound and bells and whistles, as I mentioned yesterday, that some of the shows have where ka-ching, ka-ching. I wouldn't have time to do that. But if you want to support us, you can. Now, I mentioned before the break that we're going to talk about an interesting topic surrounding the Florida State Seminoles. And here's the thing. I tend to believe that the ACC's grant of rights through 2036, while beneficial in securing the ACC network, is a anchor around the legs of Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, Virginia Tech. I'm going to say your name, and I'm going to say it with this little addendum. Win some, please, Brent Pry. Those programs, the big power football programs, those national branded programs are stuck in this deal while, oodles and oodles of money are flooding into the Big Ten and the SEC. And John Swofford is the guy who brokered that deal to get the league, the network, which is huge. But man, are they in a bad spot financially by comparison to the teams that they are battling or supposed to battle in the other conferences. Now, here's what's going on at Florida State. When Southern Cal and UCLA say, hey, we're going to the Big Ten, every show in America, this show included, for 2 or 3 days, talked about realignment. And as I said, it's like a big rock. It hits the ocean or it hits a lake, man, there are huge ripples that cascade out. And the further you get away, the less those ripples are impactful. And that's why over the past couple of weeks, months, you don't hear much from us on the realignment front. College football season's coming. The conferences and the alignments and the divisions feel pretty good. But Richard McCullough, who is the president at Florida State, had some interesting words over this past weekend during an event, according, I don't have to say according to Noel Game Day for this, because he said these things. But Noel Game Day sources, according to them, have said that Florida State is in the process of exploring a move to a new conference. And the Seminoles have had discussions with the SEC and the Big Ten since last summer. Here's what's funny about that. Does anybody recall when Mark Ryan said a year ago that he was hearing that Clemson and Florida State were having some conversations about leaving the ACC, and people called him a liar and just blasted him? Again, I go on his show. He does his homework. He's got his sources. And while I think there are people that will say that his thoughts were still wrong and it hadn't happened, yeah, but if these things are out there, like if you're not talking about leaving and figuring it out, if you're Clemson and Florida State, and Miami and Virginia Tech, then what are you doing? I mean, this is 4th and 16 versus LSU. You got to go for it. You have to be looking for options because the money is too great in these other leagues. You have to be going through over and over and over that grant of rights, your lawyers trying to say, hey, is there a way we can escape this deal, renegotiate this deal, put this deal on par with what the Big Ten and the SEC are going to end up racking up? Is there a way out? During a speaking engagement last week, McCullough, the Florida State president, said these words, that the Seminoles were trying to do anything we can to think about how we remain competitive. Florida State is expected to win, and we are going to be very aggressive. Now, again, the Seminoles get things going Saturday, 5 o'clock versus Duquesne. Then their matchup with LSU the following weekend will be a good one, or an exciting one to watch. It may not be a good one. But it sure sounds like the Seminoles have one eye on the ACC and the other eye lurking around the college football world. 803-450-0086. We come back. We put a big old bow on the Wednesday edition of the show that shakes the Southland. All right, going to pump you guys to a break, and we'll be right back. All right, guys. The show is loaded. I need one more thing to do, and then we'll get going. I was going to stop by, though, before I bring it back in and just ask you, I mean, how have you liked me doing the show this way for you guys? I enjoy it. It's a little more pressure, just to make sure I get everything in at the right time, and as long as we're here early enough, 3:20 ish. As long as I can roll by 3:20, we should be okay. We will not be doing the show live here tomorrow. Tomorrow, I've got something to do in the afternoon, so I will not be streaming the show live tomorrow. So let me know what you think about it. Again, share, tell your friends and neighbors. All right, we're going to come back. Let me hit the intro, and we'll rock and roll. Final segment on a Wednesday afternoon. 803-450-0086. Text line and phone line. And yes, both should be working if you want to give us a call. I say should because I'm not exactly certain how it's going to work. Dwayne's in the house today. Dwayne says, Swanee, I heard Streeter say that the other guys were streamlining the offense. He and the other guys were streamlining the offense. Huh. Let's see. You know what? I don't know which comments you're talking about there, Dwayne. So if you think of it, let me know, and I'll certainly address it. He says he forgot the guy's name. Sorry. Dwayne says also Miami will likely be the first to get back on top. All right, putting a check mark by the Hurricanes for Dwayne. So Dwayne takes Miami. John Blau said Oklahoma. I said Southern Cal. Philip wants to know, Swanee, why is the Clemson Paul pointing at 12 and not 1 o'clock on your wall clock? Philip, that is no ordinary wall clock. So I showed it yesterday because off the heels of the We're Number One program on the ACC network. That is a national championship Clemson clock from 1981. That paw that you see is not only facing the wrong way, it's reverse. It would be that one would be the right paw. And Clemson's paw tends to, I believe, be the left paw. There we go. All right, so the call is to see. Y'all can hear the ring. All right. I'll go ahead and take that one. On the guest line right now, Double O in the house. Double O on a Wednesday. What's up, brother? How are you?
Doing well, Lawton.
What's on your mind, brother?
I don't have much today, Lawton. I just agree with the guy that you just said a while ago about Oklahoma. That's be my team. Hoist the trophy. I'm going to come back to your question today. I'll go with Oklahoma.
I put a check mark by the Sooners for Double O. That gives them 2. So everybody's. So is your belief more about Brent Venables, Double O?
Not necessarily, Lawton. Although he is one of the best defensive coordinators that I've ever seen coach the game. He'll definitely help them. I don't necessarily put my vote with Oklahoma according to Venables. That's not what I'm basing it on. No, sir.
Well, let me run this by you. I mean, what about the fact that they're going into the SEC? That doesn't scare you off either?
No way. Not even close. Oklahoma's always had a tough schedule, I would say, in my opinion.
Well, look, Double O, man, I appreciate you giving us a call. We only got a couple more minutes till we got to get out of here. So call us again tomorrow. Call us earlier.
Well, I thought I was live today, but I'm doing this during a commercial break. But, shouldn't have said that.
Double O, everybody knows the tricks of the trade, my man. Be good, brother.
Later on.
All right, man. Double O here on the show that shakes the Southland. So you could hear the ring. So I gotta figure that out. I'll get with John. That's a note I need to make. There's got to be a better way to do that where you won't hear the ring. Back to the Paul real quick to wrap up the program, though, Philip. So Philip was asking about the Paul being at whatever timestamp that's at about noon. So when that was made, I think one of two things happened. A, it's not a officially licensed thing. And back then, you got to remember in the 80s, it wasn't like it is today. You can't sell a shirt outside of the football stadium after the game, right, Philip? It's wild how much that's changed in our lifetimes. But that Paul, I think, is actually supposed to be the right way. As a matter of fact, and I know it wouldn't be facing 1 o'clock. Let me try one thing here. If I mirror my camera, let's see if the Paul looks right. Yeah, it does. You see that? Now, it's not facing the right way, but it's the correct Paul that you're accustomed to seeing for Clemson. I don't believe that one has the little hook in it that would make it official. But I think when they printed that, they printed it the wrong way. And I don't think that they were thinking, that was awesome flipping that screen, man. And you got to see exactly what I'm talking about. It's the right Paul. It's just inverted, and it's not turned right. I don't think they were focused on that. I don't think that was important. What is important on it is that 22-15 victory over Nebraska, giving Clemson their first ever national title. I showed that, Philip. If you want to see that clock up close, I took it off the wall yesterday and showed people on the live stream who are watching the program. Again, we're here from 4 until 6 every afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, around the world on the iHeartRadio app. If you're watching the live video, we're here from like 3:20 to 5:20. We want to keep it going and growing with you guys here with us, and thank you for being a part of the show. We got to get out of here. Tomorrow will not be live on the streaming services, but we will be on Fox Sports Radio 1400 and the iHeartRadio app. Until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers! All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out today. Again, it's weird how we're doing it. I can explain why if you care to hear why we do it the way we're doing it right now. So when so I have a delay sitting right here in front of me. That may not mean anything to you, but what delay does is it gives a 10-second buffer between the callers and the radio and the guests in the radio, and I guess me. Like I've never said anything bad on the air, but when there came a point where we have to have this buffer between us, and we always do if I'm at studio, but I love doing the show from here. I like having my backdrop. I like being at home. My family, my kids are young and just the commute and all that. I mean, it's been nice to do it from here, and the quality is the same. The one missing piece was you guys, the callers and the participators on, the video and stuff. And so I had several people say, hey, what do you got to bring that back. That's a lot of fun. We enjoy the calls. We enjoy hearing from people. And I've even had some callers say, hey, I really want to call and be a part of the show. So if I open it up here to you guys at about 3-ish to 3:20 as best I can, depending on like today, after school, I had to make my daughter some spaghetti, not from scratch, but, some that was made from scratch. I had to reheat it in the microwave. And so that put me a little later than I would like to be getting here. I say all that because most days I'm going to try to start by 3:15-ish because 3:20-ish was pushing me up against. I mean, it was tight. It was tight to like squeeze it all in and get it uploaded in the system. So I'll be here live every day. I'm going to try to when I can. I can't tomorrow, but most days I will because I like the engagement. I like being able to pop Philip up there. Thank you, Philip. Appreciate you tuning into the live stream. And then it's broadcasting sounds perfect. We put out the podcast. We've got great coverage on our website. Again, it's $1 for 3 months. And if you think this show is worth 33 cents a month for the next 3 months, come on in and support us. And after that, if you think it's worth 17 cents a day, $63.17, then you can join us for a year. And we're putting out some unique content that other sites don't have, more digital content than any other site. I wish I had more time to write, but in between this and my day job, it's tough for me to find the time to write, but we're getting together a bigger and bigger team. And a part of that's because of you guys supporting us. So if you keep supporting us, we can grow the team. We can get better. I mean, it's like a snowball, man, but I can't do it without you guys. Again, thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for taking time to be a part of what we do. And most of all, thanks for just participating and appreciating what we do for not only Clemson fans in the Midlands, but Tiger fans around the world. We'll be back with the online on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio 1400 tomorrow, the regular radio broadcast of the show. And we'll be back streaming on Friday as well. So I'll talk to you then. As always, y'all take care now and go Tigers.